This is the Vic Feazell Show podcast, hosted by Vic Feazell and Jonathan Zimick, sponsored by Moroso Wood-Fired Pizzeria and Pinewood Coffee Roasters.
It's good to see you, Vic, in such trying times.
It's good to see you, Jonathan. We're still coming to the office every day because we have fewer than 10 people in our office. We pretty much always stay more than 6 feet away from each other. You and I are about, 4 feet right now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so don't spit at me.
Stay outside of the splash zone.
We've just bought a lot of TV time. We're going to be running TV commercials starting next week.
Yeah, we shot a fun one with you at the office here this earlier this week.
We did.
You did good.
You did good.
It was a little windy out. We had some traffic we had to deal with, but commercial came out great.
Well, you're a really good editor, Jonathan, and I'm excited to see these on the local TV.
And if you it's on YouTube.
And on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah, if you want to see our new commercial, go to YouTube.
And then subscribe. Hit subscribe.
Yeah. What are we calling it? How can they find it?
It's there chronologically, and we also call it Lofts of Vic Feazell, the Stay Inside commercial.
The Stay Inside, Stay at Home commercial.
That's it. Stay at home commercial.
Stay
That's
home. Yeah, what we're talking about is that even though everybody wants to stay home, and we understand that. I mean,
oh, totally.
I go from my garage to here, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And then I go from here to home.
Yeah.
That's about it. I stopped by Moroso's the other day.
I stopped by there today for lunch.
Yeah.
He's still open. He's doing curbside. God bless him.
God bless him, doing curbside.
Because I need it.
Yeah, I needed it earlier this week. I bought 2 pizzas, and my wife and I ate one for lunch and took the other one home for dinner.
Delicious.
Yeah, curbside. Pinewood is doing the same thing. They'll bring your coffee out to the sidewalk for you.
That's cool.
Just text in your order or give them a call. Same with Dan over at Moroso's. Text in your order or give him a call. Go to YouTube and look at our new commercial. I think you'll be impressed with what we're able to do in-house. I mean, this commercial has the quality of a production company commercial.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
It's not too shabby. But we have fabulous equipment. We bought the equipment from Netflix that we're using. When they finished The Confession Killer, we bought their camera.
Yeah.
We've got all the studio lights. We've got the right sound equipment. Got the same microphones that Sting uses, only
Sting.
only he sounds a lot better coming through it than I do.
It's funny.
Yeah. I went back the other day just so I could listen to us singing 15 Tons again.
Oh, 15 Tons?
Yeah, remember you and I sat right here and sang it.
Tennessee Earl. What's his name? What's that guy's name? Tennessee
Ernie Ford.
Ernie Ford, that's it.
Yeah.
Certain days I remember, certain days I can't.
That little old pea picker, me. That's what he used to call himself, the pea picker.
He had that sweet mustache.
Sweet mustache, yeah, good voice, real friendly.
Real friendly.
Yeah, he was fun to watch. He had a variety show when I was a little boy.
Oh, for real? He was one of those guys?
He was.
That's cool.
We're going to be talking about the timeline again. We're still in April 1985.
We are. In the last episode, we talked a lot about Lucas and getting him away from the Rangers and a little more of what was going on behind the scenes. So
we did.
I'm excited to continue this voyage.
And we started on April the 11th, 1985, which was the day the special grand jury convened.
Right.
And we only made it up to about half of April the 16th. So 5 days. We spent an entire hour on 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ins and outs.
But you know, it's been about 3 weeks since we did our show about the 40-year-old Waco cold case, Lily Heffley.
Yeah, has there been anything new with that one?
I haven't heard a peep. I know there's a petition going around that's got probably 1,000 signatures on it by now. Mm-hmm. Go to look me up, Vic Feazell Facebook. There's a link to that petition, or you could probably just Google Lily Heffley petition and sign it. Let the powers that be know they should get off their butts and get this case solved.
Right.
This is such an easy case to solve because her murderer, or at least one of her murderers, snuffed out a cigar on her dead body and left it there.
Yeah.
And
Test it.
The information we have is that they have that cigar. The lab, the police still have that cigar.
Wow.
And it hasn't been tested for DNA yet. Now, we understand that it is being tested, but how long does it take?
At least one piece of forensic evidence, a cigar butt of a particular type and brand that had been snuffed out on Heffley's dead body, was said to have been recovered at the scene. Johnson said when he and one of his investigators spoke with the Fort Worth detective, he was told it had been admitted for testing.
You know, and it really bothers me that our local officials don't seem more interested in solving a case that could be so easily solved. Yeah. I mean, somebody leaves their signature on a dead body. Come on, people. Now, I've heard some disturbing rumors that one of the key suspects might be close friends with somebody high up in law enforcement.
Oh, we got one of these deals going on.
Yeah, you know how that goes. I hope that's not true. I really hope it's not true. And I really hope we see some movement on this case and see some results from that DNA on that cigar.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's such low-hanging fruit. You know, if it's so easy to solve, just do it.
Just do it.
Why be a hero? Do it.
Exactly. Everybody wants to be a hero. Well, be one.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it. Get this one solved. Let the chips fall where they may. Even if it's your best friend, that best friend shouldn't be out there committing murder.
Yeah.
You know, we are interested in transparency. We're interested in truth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, I got to correct something I said. I was just misspoke. But I said that, we were talking about probably half of our listeners weren't even born yet in April 1985.
That's probably true.
Yeah, I know. And I said, I remember I said that, but I said it in sort of a weird way, and it made it sound like that more than half of our listeners were born prior to April 1985, but not so. I think more than half of our listeners were born after April 1985, not before April 1985.
Yeah.
We've got a really good group of listeners out there that's the younger generation. I'm just humbled to have so many young people listening to our show and listening to this old man talk. You know, I think it's because of you, Jonathan.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think it's because of you.
No.
And I got to apologize for something we said because I got a couple emails about this.
What happened? What'd you do?
I was complaining about the Waco Trib because this newspaper never wrote a line, not anything, about Netflix being in town.
That's true.
Netflix had a 5-part documentary about something that happened right here in this courthouse.
Yeah.
You know, something that the Waco Trib covered every day of. The grand jury, everything about Lucas. They covered all my trials, but then Netflix comes out with this fabulous documentary. It's still like #1 rated.
Yeah, for true crime, it's up there, man. It's awesome.
It is, and people are still watching it for the first time. I'm still getting
we're still seeing
for the
fan
first
mail.
time. Yeah. So, and I was complaining because the Tribune Herald hadn't written anything about Netflix, and I made this statement: I wouldn't even let my parakeet poop on that thing anymore. And you said something about
people don't have birds anymore.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, people don't have birds. Well, people do have birds because I tell you.
Who has birds?
Well, I don't want to say the names, but I've gotten a couple of emails from people saying, why are you bad-mouthing people who have birds? I have birds.
We're not bad-mouthing. We're not bad-mouthing.
No, we really weren't. We were just bad-mouthing the Waco Trib. And one of these days...
That's so funny.
Yeah, I know. One of these days, I might read a chapter out of the book I'm writing because it's about the Waco Trib. It's about something that happened to me back in 1986 that the Waco Trib was involved with. And, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. I may just pull a chapter from my book every once in a while and read it Maybe we can put some sound effects in.
Make it real nice.
Yeah.
Make it nice and cozy. Make you an ebook.
I tell you what, it might be more fun to read it and let people listen to it than to even publish it in paper.
Hey, you know, I love ebooks. I love listening to that stuff in the car personally.
Yeah. Yeah, so I might do that, but I might read that one about the Waco trip. It's a chapter about when I was running for re-election. I'd already been arrested. I had an opponent. I had two opponents. Remember how I told you that the powers that be, the deep state, ran somebody against that prosecutor in Idaho?
Yeah.
That got that federal sniper indicted?
Yeah, yeah.
And they ran somebody against him and beat him, and then the person who beat him dropped all the charges.
Right.
Well, they ran two people against me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Yeah. So I won the Democratic primary, and then I was involved in the Republican primary. And I mean, in the general election, running against a Republican. And yeah, I had been arrested, but everybody knew why.
Yeah.
You know, the people that were saying otherwise, they just had an axe to grind.
Right.
They were doing their counter allegations. It was Colonel Jim Adams' propaganda machine that was coming after me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's
something else. And so I take the evidence and I sit down with the editorial board because they're fixing to decide who are they going to endorse for DA.
right.
Are they going to endorse the guy who won the Lake Waco triple murder cases, who had turned the DA's office around and had made us the top felony conviction rate in the state of Texas?
Awesome.
The DA who is also being fair to people and not ruining people's careers over little small drug possession cases. You know, I was the people's DA.
A man of the people.
I really was.
Well, and that's very clear from a lot of the archive stuff we have, Vic. And one thing we're going to reference soon, and probably this episode, we may have some excerpts from it, is this speech you gave during one of your fundraisers. And like your fundraiser was like a fair, dude.
I know.
And huge tents and bands were playing. You had like carnival rides
Carnival
out there.
rides.
Like, what?
Yeah. I represented a client back then before I was DA.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back to me after I left the DA's office and I represented some more. But he owned a small carnival. And whenever I'd have a fundraiser or a get-together, he'd bring the little kiddie rides out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were all
That's
around
awesome.
the merry-go-round. We had a big circus tent. We had
Yeah.
a band. Cherokee Rose was playing.
Cherokee Rose.
Cherokee Rose. And you know who one of the singers and guitar players for Cherokee Rose was?
Gentleman by the name of Brian.
You got it. Brian Burns.
Hey, the guy who does our commercials.
He does our commercials. I love Brian Burns. Google Brian Burns. Buy some of his music because he's not being able to go out and perform right now. He's like the rest of us. We're not allowed to get out and do our thing. So buy some of his music online. Google MC Yogi too. Buy some of MC Yogi's music. Buy one of his T-shirts. Let's keep our friends in business during this time. Go to Pinewood if you're in Waco. Have them bring you out a cup of coffee. Go to Moroso's. He'll bring you out some pizzas. Let's help each other out during these trying times. And that brings me back to our commercial. And I'm gonna get back around the Waco trip. Don't worry about it. I'm not senile. I haven't lost my train of thought. But our
There's just multiple
commercial,
trains going at once.
our commercial is about how we can still handle your case without
Right.
you ever having to leave home.
Well, why don't we go ahead and play it for our listeners?
Hi, I'm Vic Feazell. During these trying times, you might want to just stay home. And at the law offices of Vic Feazell, we understand. That's why we're set up to handle your personal injury claim without you even having to come in. Just give us a call, and we'll take it from there. We can send any paperwork straight to your smartphone or computer. Don't delay, because if we don't put money in your pocket, you don't owe us anything. I'm Vic Feazell.
We're a digital office, dude.
We're a digital office.
And we're a paperless office. Everything is all computers, which is awesome. And we totally made that leap like way before every other law firm did.
I know. We've been working on this for years.
For like 15
we
years.
were one of the first law offices I knew of to go paperless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I'm such an old hippie. I just don't like killing trees that we don't have to kill, you know? So, yeah, we were paperless, and we can send you the contract straight to your cell phone even.
Yep.
or your laptop or your computer, and you can sign it right there. And it's an easy thing to do. You don't have to have special equipment or anything. We'll talk to you on the phone. We can send the medical releases to you that way, and you can digitally sign them. So then we start getting your medical records from the providers. And yesterday, Robbie Robertson, one of the lawyers here in our office, did a deposition on one of our car wreck cases online.
Yeah, just do it remotely. It's awesome.
The whole thing was set up remote. Before, we've always had to get everybody together in one conference room with a court reporter.
Yep.
Here, everybody was in a different location.
Yeah.
The court reporter, the witness, the other lawyer, and Aubrey Robertson.
It's pretty cool.
Now, I got to say, Aubrey's side of the screen looked better than the other side.
Oh, yeah?
Because we got better equipment. We bought our stuff from Netflix.
There you go.
And also we have an Etherline that was Ethernet that was plugged straight in.
Oh, they're trying to do some Wi-Fi stuff?
Yeah, they were doing it Wi-Fi, so it was kind of clickety click, you know. And right now, all them internet tubes is kind of clogged. You know?
Oh, you're being ridiculous. Internet tubes.
Those big old tubes that send all that internet stuff around. Everybody's using it, so it's getting clogged. We may have to put a plunger to it.
Where do you come up with this?
I make it up.
I bet there's people who believe that, though. I think it's like the bank where you just put some stuff in a tube and shoot it through.
No, actually, we had a congressman stand up one time, this 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and liken the internet to, it's kind of like a bunch of tubes, and you put something in this tube, and it kind of, and everybody kind of laughed at him.
Kind of. I mean,
but in a way, it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
because if that internet is used too much, it's going to slow down. Now, if they had this technical knowledge that you and I have, Jonathan, and I'm an old guy, but I've tried to stay on the cutting edge of technology, and that's why our office is where it is.
True.
You know, but I could have told her, hey, go and plug your TV, take it, make sure it's not sucking any Wi-Fi, turn off your cell phone.
Oh, look at you.
Because it's sucking Wi-Fi. You know, it's the truth. And that will make your signal a little stronger. So all you people at home, if you're having trouble getting any of your Wi-Fi through, have your kid turn off his iPad, you know, turn off some of the things that suck in the Wi-Fi, and then you'll have it there to do the important business that you might need to do, and then let everybody go back to playing their video games. So anyway, I went to the Waco Trib, and
man,
I showed them all the stuff on Lucas.
Right.
I talked to him about what our grand jury had done. I had the Texas Attorney General supporting me.
You did.
You know, everybody except Colonel Jim Adams. But man, that guy is powerful. And we will eventually get around to playing some clips from the Senate hearings when they were investigating the part of the FBI that he ran,
right,
that was spying on American citizens.
Yeah, we've got some of that footage. And here's an excerpt from some of those hearings. And to give a little background on this clip, this is Mr. Adams being confronted about a letter that was sent from what is to believe to be from the FBI to Dr. Martin Luther King. We're about to hear a gentleman read parts of the letter and question Mr. Adams about it.
King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. Now, if you had received such a letter, how would you have interpreted it? What would you have thought it meant?
I have read that statement. I have heard the conclusions of your staff that it was a suicide urging. I can't find any basis upon which they drew that conclusion. From my reading of that statement.
Now, if you had received a letter of this kind, and it had been directed to you, and you were in Dr. King's position, and you read, King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do it. Now, that happens to roughly correspond to the time before which he was to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. It reads, you are done, there is but one way out for you. What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know if it means confession. I don't know if it means suicide as has been raised. I have no idea. You have the statement.
Would you disown this statement and say that any connection the FBI had with it was utterly improper and grotesque?
I certainly would say it was improper, and I can't justify its being prepared or sent. Yes, sir.
So I put it all out there in front of the Waco Trib.
Said, hey, endorse me.
I did. You going to endorse me, or you going to endorse this other guy who's never held a political office? He's never won a race. And his only claim to fame was, I sat third chair on the Cullen Davis trial when Cullen Davis was prosecuted. Well, you probably don't remember that.
Yeah,
case.
that's.
They lost that trial.
Oh,
the
no.
prosecution lost that trial. I remember
He was third string and lost.
I know. We were at a Meet the Candidates meeting one night, and I was going down through my successes as DA.
Yeah.
And this gentleman gets up and he says, well, I worked for the DA's office in Fort Worth, and I was third chair on the Cullen Davis trial. And I looked at him and I said, I thought we were supposed to brag on the cases we won.
Yeah, man, it sounds like a secret more than something you want to put out there.
I know. Thank God the people of Waco reelected me. But the Tribune Herald, I knew what day that their endorsement was going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't sleep that night, man. I'd already been arrested. I was looking at 80 years in prison.
Right.
Before all of that happened, I was a shoo-in. They were saying I wasn't even going to have an opponent. They were already talking about me running for attorney general when Jim Maddox ran for governor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a rising star in the state political party. Until Lucas.
Yeah.
When Boutwell and Adams and Prince all said, you'll live to regret the day you ever heard the name Henry Lucas.
Yeah.
Well, they just almost made that happen. Yeah. So I couldn't sleep that night. So I was up before 5 o'clock, sitting on the curb out in the front of my house. And far in the distance, I could hear the rumbling muffler that I had heard before. Rumble, rumble, rumble. And it'd stop, and I'd hear a thud. Rumble, 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 thud. Now, I'd always heard this from inside my house before, but that morning I was sitting on the curb. That was my newspaper man coming.
Yeah.
He needed a new muffler really bad. Rumble, 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 thud. And the thud was when the paper would hit somebody's driveway.
Sure.
And I could hear him getting closer. My heart beat a little faster. Took some deep breaths because I've always been a conscious breather. That's what helped get me through all this. Breathe deep, deep breath. Inhale, exhale to release the stress. Deep breath. That's MC Yogi. Google that. Yeah, listen to it while you're on quarantine. So anyway, I saw him around the corner. He threw my neighbor's paper, delivering the news to him. Threw it toward me. And just as it left his hand, that's when he saw me sitting on the curb. I saw our eyes met.
Mm-hmm.
And I lunged for that paper because it was headed toward the grass. I remember the grass was damp when I landed in it. The paper bounced off my fingers. I crawled through the grass and I got it. I sat there in my pajama bottoms on the damp grass.
Uh-huh.
Opened that paper into the second or third page. Come on. Because I knew I had to be endorsed. I had to. Because if I lost that election, I didn't have much chance, Jonathan.
Well, that and the newspaper was a big deal back then, Vic.
Back then, the newspaper was a
huge
big
source.
Deal. We only had 3 TV stations in this town. Maybe still just 2. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
There was Channel 10 and Channel 6. I can't remember exactly when Channel 25 came along. We didn't have streaming. We didn't have all this other stuff.
Right. That was it, man.
That was it. And then we got a couple Dallas channels on through the
you mean Channel 8?
Cablevision. Yeah, they didn't have internet back then. It was Cablevision, And so I opened that thing up, that paper up, and I looked at it, and I could see my opponent's face staring back at me. Yeah, his picture. And it said, Waco Tribune Herald endorses. And they said his name. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't have anything against him, and he's dead now.
Oh, is he?
Just about everybody I know is dead.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Except for the bastards. They just keep living.
Well, you know what they say, only the good die young. So what does that say about me? I'm still going.
There you go. You're bad. You're bad.
Moses lived a long time. Methuselah lived a long time. Buddha would have lived a long time if he hadn't gotten food poisoning. You'd think a guy as enlightened as Buddha could have stayed away from that bad food unless he just decided it's time to go.
Yeah, well, you know.
But anyway.
There's certain foods I'd die for. The Soul Brother from Moroso's Woodfire Pizzeria.
Soul Brother Pizza.
God, that's good pizza.
Moroso. That is a good pizza.
I have to go there for dinner now.
Yeah, it's a fabulous pizza.
Yeah.
I'll be so glad when everything reopens. I don't know what would be best for our country right now. Just we keep doing it piecemeal, and this thing may last till July, August,
or just snuff it out.
September.
Just shut her down for a couple of weeks and just let it.
It would take probably 30 days.
Yeah.
But just tell everybody, go to the store, get what you need if you haven't already done it, and stay home for 30 days. Take a staycation. You got vacation, you got sick leave, and the government's already trying to put it in right now. It may have already passed. I don't know.
Yes, it's all happening so fast.
Yeah, about the sick leave, so that people that don't even have paid sick leave, their employers are going to have to pay it, and then it's going to turn into a tax deduction later on for the employer.
Oh, there you go.
I think you have to have around 500. You have to have more than 50, but less than 500 employees. So I just hope that we can keep making money here, Jonathan, so that I can keep paying everybody.
Well, hey, we're going to be open.
Yeah, we're open.
We're open.
We
are working.
We have fewer than 12 people that work for us.
Right.
We have a whole lot of people that help us on the side that we contract with, and other lawyers that we also work with.
Sure.
We have some lawyers that we joint venture cases with because they might be really good in a particular kind of case, like a products liability.
Right. Or a government claim.
Or a government claim.
Things against the Department of Defense, things like that.
There's a lawyer in Killeen we work closely with, and his firm and our firm just settled a case where Fort Hood drove a Sherman tank right out in front of a guy, violated every
tank.
I know. It violated every policy that they had. No flares, no nothing. It was a dead of night. He was driving to his job on Fort Hood, and
this thing just smoked him.
I know. He hit that tank going about 55 miles an hour, just T-boned it. And the people inside the tank said, "Did you hear something?
Something happened outside?
We might not stop and look." And about the time they opened and looked, then another car rear-ended him. So it was sandwiched right up against that tank and didn't even knock the guys off the tank. Those tanks are solid, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
and evidently it's not that hard to hit them because evidently they're designed to where the sound of when they travel goes behind them. So this thing pulled directly in front of him, and he had no idea where it was because of how well they're designed for acoustics.
Yeah, and it was pitch dark, black, and there are lights along that road that they're supposed to engage and turn on when there are tanks in the vicinity.
Yeah, they really fumbled that one.
And they're supposed to have guards out there with flares and flashlights. And all
you
that
can't just. I mean, they're basically driving a tank on like a normal roadway. That's what it was. I mean,
yeah.
Just imagine a tank rolling through your neighborhood.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just on the road, so the headlights can see it. It just came right out in front of him. Yeah. And then it was T-boned. So anyway, we have some great lawyers we work with. Some here in Waco, some in Austin, and some in Killeen. And we enjoy it because I always feel like the more heads, the better.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get to study things from every angle. And, you know, I have a few rules here. And one rule is nothing goes out of this office until at least 2 sets of eyeballs have read it.
Yeah.
You know, because one person writes a document, they might miss that typo or that left out
totally
word.
True.
even if they proof it 20 times, somebody else can proof it and pick up on it right then. So nothing goes out of our office until it's been proofread at least twice, sometimes
Which
more
is a
than
great
that.
idea, because remember, we did that with your first book, Vic, Rhino, Sharks, and Unicorns,
We
which is a
did.
great book, by the way. But I remember you gave me and James Canizaro, an attorney in your office, a couple people the book to say, hey, proof it and find
did.
something. And,
Yeah.
and we all found like a period or a comma or something missing.
I know.
It's pretty cool.
I had it printed out and then put in a ring binder kind of situation for you guys. And y'all all proofread it for me. And I had 8 or 10 of my friends proofread it and get it back to me. I made all the changes. And then I hired an editor to look at it. And she found about 50 mistakes we had all missed.
It's crazy.
You know? And then I pulled the book down about a year later and reread it. And I found a mistake in it that we had all missed.
Wow.
So, but we're about to come out with another printing of that book.
Rhino,
And-
Sharks, and Unicorns.
And that mistake is going to be fixed.
What actually is the mistake? Is it like a period or a comma or a semicolon, or what is it?
I don't remember, but I've got it marked. I do have it marked. I think it was the way fiance was spelled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I misspelled fiance. Because that's just kind of a fancy word for this boy from Leander, you know? Fiance. We called it betrothed. This is my betrothed.
What? I've never even heard that word in my life.
Oh, man, I'm so old. I could teach you a lot of words you don't know that are totally out of style.
Well, you know how that goes.
So anyway, that was my last experience with the Waco Trib, was them endorsing my opponent.
Yeah.
And then them not saying a word about Netflix. And if you haven't seen Netflix, The Confession Killer, go watch it. Man, it's still at the top of the list of documentaries. And it's about what we're talking about here, about this Henry Lee Lucas fiasco, what journalist Hugh Ainsworth has called the greatest hoax ever perpetrated by American law enforcement.
Yeah.
And last time we talked, we covered April the 11th up to halfway through April the 16th.
Right. And at this point, you'd got Lucas away. And the powers that be have already met a couple times behind the scenes before they let Lucas go. And now we're really starting to see how that power's gathering a plan of what they want to do with you, Vic.
No, the tsunami was building.
Dun, dun,
The
dun, dun,
tidal
dun,
wave
dun.
was building. I could see the shadow of it approaching. I knew that I was about to be deluged. Yeah.
So we're going to pick up here with Sister Clemmy Schroeder. And for people who may not have seen the Netflix documentary, or people who haven't listened to much of our past episodes, who was Sister Clemmy?
Sister Clemmy, she was a very spiritual lady. She wasn't a Catholic nun. She belonged to like a full gospel church. And she had started a jail ministry in Williamson County.
Cool.
And she would give Bibles to the prisoners and things like that. And she developed a friendship with Henry Lee Lucas. Sheriff Boutwell encouraged that friendship between them because she would kind of calm Henry down when Henry would get tired of confessing.
Oh.
And Sheriff Boutwell was using Sister Clemmy a lot to get his way with Henry Lucas. Because Henry would sometimes just get fed up and say, I'm not doing this anymore. And so then Boutwell would be calling Sister Clemmy and saying, Sister Clemmy, you got to help us. You know, we're doing the Lord's work here. He would play on her religious beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing the Lord's work here, and we got to keep Henry talking. And so she'd go have a Bible lesson with him. She would bring him art supplies and things like that, and even bring him food. And they were quite close, and she was close to Boutwell at that time. And she felt like that she had led the biggest serial killer in the world, in the history of the world, to the Lord.
Right.
You know, he's been saved. He believes in Jesus now. And so she had quite an investment in that.
Sure.
Because if she just brought some old one-eyed derelict to the world, well, that's just one more one-eyed derelict.
Right. But to turn the devil himself into a saint, woo!
There you go. Yeah. So that was an uphill battle with Sister Clemmy. I had her come up to Waco and visit with Henry. She wanted to come visit, and I said, "Sure, come on up." Because see, I had already seen the material that Ainsworth had gathered.
Yeah.
We had already put Mike Ferry, me and Jim Maddox, the Attorney General, had put investigator Mike Ferry on the road, and he took Bob Lemons with him for some of this. Bob, who was the stepfather of Deborah Sue Williamson, that Henry had confessed to her murder as well, and Bob knew that there was no way Henry had done it.
Right.
And so I had the benefit of having all of this information so that I knew I was coming from a place of truth, a place of solid facts and a solid foundation. And we knew that it wasn't possible that Henry could have killed all these people, and we knew it wasn't possible for him to have even done orange socks.
Right.
The only case that he had ever gotten a death penalty on. The case that Ed Walsh was the district attorney, and in episode 50, if you didn't listen to it, go back and listen. You'll get to hear Ed Walsh bad-mouthing me and Jim Maddox.
He didn't like you guys.
He didn't like us at all.
Williamson County District Attorney Ed Walsh, who prosecuted Lucas last year for his capital murder conviction, says information given to authorities by Lucas were all confirmed. Walsh says he disagrees with the way the investigation is currently being handled in Waco, especially by Maddox and Feazell.
I'm here today to respond to what I feel is irresponsible actions, unprofessional actions on the part of not only Jim Maddox, but also District Attorney Vic Feazell.
It is Walsh's suggestion that Feazell should not have gone to a grand jury, but should have taken his evidence to the Texas Ranger Task Force.
And Ken Anderson was his assistant DA that helped him prosecute Lucas for orange socks. And Ken Anderson is the one that later got disbarred and removed from the bench after he had become a judge because of dishonest and illegal things he had done, framing people while he was DA.
Now disgraced district judge Ken Anderson is going to jail. He will have to report no later than December 2nd. Fox 7's Alex Villarreal was at his sentencing this afternoon. She joins us with an update tonight. Alex.
Mike, also part of Ken Anderson's sentencing, 10 days in jail, 500 hours of community service, a $500 fine, plus he'll have to give up his law license.
Anderson is assessed a 10-day term to be served in the Williamson County Jail.
Gasps rang out through the courtroom as sentencing was handed down for Ken Anderson. Anderson is the former Williamson County District Attorney accused of hiding favorable evidence in the 1987 trial of Michael Morton. Morton served 25 years in prison for the murder of his wife, which he did not commit. District Judge Kelly Moore found Ken Anderson in contempt of court for telling Morton's trial judge he had no favorable evidence to give to Morton's attorneys. Anderson entered a no contest plea to the charge of contempt. He also waived any right to appeal.
I continue to be disappointed, that's an understatement, as a member of the bar, at the way Ken Anderson has conducted himself throughout this entire court of inquiry process.
Hear, hear.
I wish that he had been, had enough integrity and enough respect for the rest of his colleagues to directly and forcefully say, I made a mistake, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done this, I feel terrible about it. Instead, to this very day, he wants to somehow say the system went wrong. I did nothing wrong.
An independent audit of all cases handled by Ken Anderson as well as John Bradley will also take place in the near future.
In any institution where finances are in question or life or liberty are at stake, when you have an individual that engages in deliberate misconduct, you have to go back and look at all prior cases.
So here we have Ed Walsh, who did the Orange Sox case, and Ken Anderson, and we know, what his propensities are. That he plays loose with the facts.
Yeah, I'd say.
Actually, he hides the facts. That's why we have the Michael Morton Act. Michael Morton spent decades in prison for a crime he did not commit, where Ken Anderson had hid the information.
Just crazy.
Hid and lied
wrong.
about.
So
exculpatory. Wrong. So wrong. So
So that's who Sister Clemmy Schroeder was.
That's who Sister Clemmy was. Thank you for listening to the Vic Feazell Show podcast. We're a primary source podcast. We talk about people we've known, things we've experienced. We're a primary source podcast. For more information, visit vicfeazell.com. Leave us a comment or a review. Subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And thank you for listening. Share us with your friends.
This is Texas singer-songwriter Brian Burns, and I've been to Waco, Hyco, Hondo, Navasota, Winsboro, Jacksboro, Hillsboro, Santa Rosa, Austin, Houston, Galveston, Texarkana, Frisco, Buffalo, Conroe, Corsicana, and that's just in the last week. Keep a safe pace, folks. Relax and drive laid back, because Texas is a laid-back place. And if you've been in a car wreck, call Vic Feazell at 877-WITH-VIC.
With principal offices in Waco and Austin, Texas.